Hello and welcome to my channel, and today we are filming my September and October wrap-up. First of all, I'm filming this in December. It's December 2nd, and if you're still here, I know this year has been an absolute mess, and I'm so sorry, and I appreciate you and love you very, very much. We're hoping 2023 is going to be a little more organized, a little better, and I'm gonna stick with my content and Benson's gonna be able to stick with his. I've explained this in a couple of other videos that Benson is making his content his career. Mine, and for right now, is just a side hobby. And as much as I love being able to film and create content, I also have a full-time retail job, and especially during the holidays, it just gets super crazy. Not to mention with October, like, we went on vacation, and that kind of put a big damper in my reading plans, and for some reason I just started feeling really non-motivated to create content and even to read. I only read 2 books in October, spoiler alert for a little later in the video. But yeah, I feel like I'm explaining myself a lot in all of my videos, and I really don't have to. Like, this is just something fun that I do. I just feel kind of bad that I'm not prioritizing this as much as I should be. Benson prioritizes it a lot more than I do, so it's mostly a me thing. You can't even blame him for it. However, I did read a decent amount in September, and there are actually, I did a whole month's worth of vlogs that are actually still coming out. I believe the first one is out, and hopefully by the end of today the second one will be out, and then you'll see them all by the end of the year. Basically, for the rest of the year, I'm just playing catch up. Everything that I've already filmed is gonna go out, and then we're gonna start fresh in January, and I'm gonna make more of a priority of filming and getting all my content out. And I'm super excited for a lot of the videos that I already have planned, so please bear with me, and I really hope that the content you see is gonna be worth it. Now that I have kind of explained where this year is going, I am gonna jump right into the books because I have a few to talk about. Now, like I said, there are going to be vlogs coming out for the September books, so a lot of my thoughts in detail are going to be in those vlogs. So I'm going to try not to go into too much detail in this video so that you can get the full experience when you're watching those. So the first book I read in September was A Clash of Steel by C.B. Lee, and this is basically a retelling of Treasure Island, and I actually enjoyed this a lot more than I thought I would. It is a sapphic retelling. It's about, first of all, my book's upside down. But basically it is about a young girl who has pretty much been sheltered her whole life. She's lived in this village her whole life, and then this girl comes in and pretty much turns her world upside down when she drags her on an adventure. And like I said, I really enjoyed this a lot more than I thought I would. I thought it was so beautifully written and such a captivating story, especially for a YA fantasy, which I have mentioned before I'm kind of falling out of love with. But this one kind of reignited my love for YA and made me realize why I loved it so much in the past. And I'm hoping to pick up more books like this. This next one, I'm not really 100% sure still how I feel about it. I've kept it on my shelf because it's honestly quite beautiful, and I don't know, it's just one of those ones that took me a little while to get into, but once I got into it, I really loved it, and I feel like this story thrives so much on its characters, which is why I stuck with it so much. But anyway, that was Odyssey by Eli Brown. This follows, basically oddities are these things that are odd in some way, like for example an ice hook that is always cold, or a teapot that never empties. It was really super interesting. We follow this young girl who witnesses her father get killed, and basically just her adventures from there, and finding out more about oddities and what happened and why they're so dangerous. And this was super interesting. Like, it doesn't really have too much of a plot other than the fact that she's going on this journey on her own accord. And there are some beautiful illustrations throughout it. Like, first of all, this was a total cover buy for me, but just the more I read it, the more I fell in love with it. Like, these illustrations are just beautiful, and it's one that I really want to keep on my shelf, and I think I'm going to, because I think this would be a really good reread someday. It's absolutely beautiful read, and I wish I saw more people talking about this. This next one, people gonna be mad. Okay, it's Children of Blood and Bone. I finally read this. I have had this on my currently reading shelf on my Goodreads since 2018, I think. And honestly, this, I still have that annoying sticker on it. I gave this a 3-star. It's not that I didn't love it. I enjoyed some of the aspects of it, but where Clash of Steel ignited my love for YA fantasy and reminded me why I loved it, this reminded me why I was falling out of love with it. For example, one of the things that really pisses me off about YA is there's always a romance in there. There needs to be a romance, and it always feels so forced, and this one especially feels really forced. Like, it's very insta-lovey, and I know a lot of people had a problem with that. And that's mainly why I didn't like it. Like, I really enjoyed the lore of it, like the aspect of it. I don't know, I really enjoyed the culture and everything behind it, and the magic system was really interesting. But everything else just kind of I just felt like it didn't live up to the hype as much as it should have to me. Like, this is one of those that I thought I was really going to enjoy, and the fact that it's compared to Avatar: The Last Airbender really intrigued me. And I'm still debating on whether or not I will pick up the sequel, because I've heard from a lot of people that the sequel is worse than this one, and if I didn't really love this one, I don't imagine I'm going to enjoy the sequel very much either. But we'll see. I have not decided yet. The next one I actually already gave my copy of to Connor, but this is Rabbits. I believe it's by Terry Mills or something like that. But this is about a game called Rabbits, which is one of those games that doesn't really have rules, and it's really hard to explain, but the next iteration of this game is coming up, and it's all about figuring out, or basically something is going wrong with the game in this next iteration, and it comes down to this one person who is trying to figure out what's going on and how to fix the game, something like that. And it was really interesting. I listened to this on Audibly, and like, I listened to the audiobook of it. And I feel like I probably would have benefited more from reading it physically or even reading it on ebook, because like, I like to multitask while I'm reading or while I'm listening to audiobooks, and I feel like the story didn't benefit as much from me listening to it, because I don't feel like I fully grasped everything that was happening. So this was kind of my fault, but also it's not a book that I feel inclined to go back to. It's not one that I particularly want to reread, but it was really interesting, and it had a little bit of a sci-fi mix into it, so it was interesting, and I did like it, but it was more of like a one-time read, and I'm never gonna pick it up again. But I did give it to Connor because I feel like it's right up Connor's alley. It's something that he would really enjoy, and I hope he does enjoy it. Otherwise, I'm gonna be a liar. Love you, buddy. This next one I also gave 3 stars, and it is 1,000 Ships. This is basically a retelling of the Trojan Wars from the women's perspective, and it's such an interesting concept and a beautiful concept. And in most of the chapters, their perspectives are written so beautifully, and I love that. I enjoyed reading from their perspective so much, but there was a big chunk in the middle where it kind of lulled, and I wasn't as interested, and I just wanted to get through it much quicker than I did. And I just want it to be over, and just in that middle part, but there was like a good section at the end where finally like my intrigue was back, and I was more reinvested in this story. So if it wasn't for that like lull space in that big chunk in the middle, I probably would have enjoyed this a lot more. The next one is one that I'm so glad that I got to read when I did. I'm so mad that I put it off for so long, because this was a 5 out of 5 stars. Under the Whispering Door by TJ Klune. This is, I mean, I think it's technically a sequel, like it's set in the same world. Anyway, this is technically a sequel. I think it's set in the same world as House in the Cerulean Sea. I think I've heard that it's like a companion novel. It doesn't follow like any of the same characters. I don't think any of the characters appear in the first book or whatever, but anyway, this one follows Wallace, who has passed away unexpectedly, and he is picked up at his funeral by a reaper who is supposed to help him cross over, and he meets this guy, and things happen, and he realizes that he was not such a great person in his lifetime, and basically trying to atone for that in the afterlife. It is such a beautiful story. I don't think my eyes were dry in the last 100 pages at all. I was crying so much. It was so bad. It was so bad. Literally for the last 100 pages, I was sobbing, and like I already starting to tear up right now just thinking about it, because of how much this story impacted me. And I had put this off for so long because I knew exactly the reaction it was going to get out of me. But you just feel for these characters, much like House in the Cerulean Sea. You just feel for these characters so much, and that's one of the things TJ Klune that I love about TJ Klune, is that he makes you feel and fall in love with these characters and their stories. And it was so wonderful and so heartbreaking and beautiful. I just loved it so much. The next one is one that I'm also really sad that I waited so long to read, because it's such a beloved book on BookTube, by a very beloved author on BookTube, and that is Vicious by V.E. Schwab. I actually really liked this. This was a 4-star read for me. I enjoyed the premise. It's basically, this follows Eli and Victor, who were best friends in college, and Eli decides to do his project on EOs, or extraordinary people. And basically he finds a way to create EOs and become an EO, and he does with Victor's help, they do their thesis on extraordinaries. And basically we flash forward 10 years, we get little bits of snippet from the past and the present day. Flash forward 10 years, one of them has just gotten out of prison and is on the hunt for the other one. This is so intriguing, and it's such an interesting premise, and V.E. Schwab has told it in an amazing way that made me so intrigued to keep reading further and further. It's got that great commentary on what is truly evil and what is not, and it does it in a way that doesn't come off as super preachy, which I feel like this premise, if it was done in a certain way, it could come off too preachy, which I honestly would not like. But this was done so well that it didn't come off preachy at all, at least to me, and I really enjoyed it, and I am super intrigued to pick up the sequel. I know this is a book that technically didn't need a sequel, but I am intrigued to read the next one, and I believe there is going to be a 3rd installment as well. Last book I read in September, The Midnight Library. I did unfortunately only give this a 3.5 star. I also kind of cried during this one. This one is one of those that is really hard to read, and I don't think I was in the mental space to read this at the time that I did, but because I was doing a challenge and all that, you'll have to watch the vlogs to find out exactly what my challenge was. But because I was doing a challenge, I was kind of forcing my way through, and I really wanted to finish it and just get it off my shelf, or get it out of the way. But basically this follows Nora, who decides she wants her life to end, and after she decides that, she wakes up in this library. And it's basically like a library where each book on the shelf is a different event in your life, and it kind of shows you a bunch of different lives that you could have lived. Like, what would have happened if I said yes to that date? What would have happened if I got married to this person? And she kind of decides, or she kind of gets to see what different choices she could have made would have led to in her life. And it's a very interesting premise, but it's also a very scary premise when you're not in the right headspace to read it. And I don't think I was at the time. I just felt anxiety picking up this book every time that I just for the last like 100 pages or so, I just listened to the audiobook so I could get through it. And I definitely think this is a me thing, and reading it when I wasn't ready and not in the right headspace, that I didn't enjoy it as much. Yeah, it was a really hard read. I don't recommend going into it if you're 100% not there. I still haven't decided whether I'm keeping this on my shelf or not. I do think it's a very beautiful story. I just don't know if I'm ever gonna reread it. And then in October, I did say I only read 2 books. So in October, we went on vacation. We went to California, and we got to meet some of our friends that live down there, and we're down there for TwitchCon. And yeah, I didn't get to read a whole bunch. I mean, I could have. We were back in the hotel by like 6 or 7 pretty much every night. But yeah, I didn't read a ton. I don't think I was in like the mood to read any of the books that I brought. And we went to a couple bookstores down there, and like I could have picked up one of those, but I just didn't for whatever reason. And I had a vlog planned that was really super exciting, but of course, like when I got back to work, that just didn't work out. October was a weird month, man. But I ended up reading Dear Laura for that vlog that was supposed to come out. It has since been postponed. I'm still gonna do it, but most likely it's gonna be next October. So please keep an eye out for that, because it will be coming. So I'm not gonna tell you exactly what it is until then. I read Dear Laura. I gave it a 3-star. This is about a young girl whose best friend, or I guess he was her boyfriend at the time. He goes missing, and she has not seen him in 20 plus years, and she's constantly wondering what has happened to him. And every year on her birthday, she gets a letter from the man who kidnapped her boyfriend, and basically it's her finding out who he is and how to get rid of him. And I gave it a 3-star because there were parts that was really intriguing. It was a novella, and it just wasn't, I don't know, I just didn't love it. I didn't really care for the characters that much. There wasn't any real good plot twist in it. I originally heard about it from Gabby's channel at, I think it's Gabby Reads. I think that's her channel name. But I wish I liked it a lot more than I did. And next was, I actually read a graphic novel on my Kindle, and that is Kim Reaper, the first one. This follows Becca, who has a huge crush on this girl named Kim. When she goes to finally ask her out, she gets whisked into this portal where she discovers that she's a Grim Reaper. And basically it follows their story from there, and I thought it was really cute. I thought it was a nice palette cleanser to end out the month. It was really fun, and it was really funny, and it's one that I've been meaning to read for a while, and I'm so glad that I did. And those are all of the books that I read through September and October. Once again, thank you so much for bearing with me this year. I know it's been a little bit of a mess, but welcome to my channel and welcome to my life. Anyway, if you like this video, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe if you'd like to see more from me, as well as Benson, who is always a frequent member on this channel. He does all my editing and everything like that. He also has his own channels, so if you'd like to subscribe to anything he does, I'll leave all of his links down in the description box below, as well as links to my social media, which I will try to be more social on come 2023. Again, thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.